Grayskull is a fan podcast exploring the vast worlds of He-Man and She-Ra. Join Shawn Skvarna and Matthew Duke as they discuss the history and mystery of Eternia and Etheria, diving deep into all incarnations of Masters of the Universe.
Hey, you know who's back? It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Now that you know, let's go. Get ready for the show. It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to L.O.G on MYP. This is normally the series where Matthew Duch and Curtis Ackerman break down an episode of the Mike Young Productions He-Man and the Master Universe 2002 cartoon series. However, today is a special episode of L.O.G on MYP. We are halfway through Season 1. Yes, we have done 13 episodes of Season 1. And we thought this would be a good time to kind of go back and follow up on some viewer comments. I was able to obtain Yuka's unofficial guide, which I did not have for the majority of the episodes we've done so far. So we're going to be going through some trivia and stuff from that. And we have the wonderful Shawn Skvarna along with us today, who has not been able to make every episode, but he definitely has some thoughts on this series. So we thought this would be a good time to bring him in. We can kind of get his thoughts on this front half of Season 1 and get to look at his glorious face for an hour or so.
Happy to be here, guys.
Long-time listener, first-time
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
So how we all doing today, boys? We ready?
Most excellent.
Let's do it.
All right, so first, let's start off with going through and highlighting some of our listeners. So we've put out 13 of these so far. We've had some great people responding, commenting. I also want to take this moment to let you guys in on a little secret.
Ooh.
So, as you know, Yuka was nice enough to hook me up with the unofficial guide to He-Man and the Master Universe. Covers all of 2002. At the end of L.O.G on MYP, after episode 39, he actually gave me a second copy as well. And we are going to give it away for free to one of our lucky viewers.
Nice.
And the way you get in on this is you comment on one of our videos.
Beautiful.
That's it.
So Shawn and I are eligible then, is what you're saying.
You are not eligible.
You get one and we don't get a chance? All right.
Nope.
All right.
There was no fine print in any of the dialogue you said, so I take it that we can, in fact, be enrolled in this.
All regular hosts of L.O.G on MYP and Legends of Grayskull are ineligible. So everybody who, and I'm gonna say, you can win an entry per episode. So if someone has commented on all 13 episodes, they get 13 entries. So everybody, so even if I don't read your comment today, I am going to highlight that you did put a comment on there and you will be entered into the giveaway. So, and we thank everybody. I mean, I might truncate some of these comments and everything else, but yeah, we definitely appreciate it. I know, Curtis, you have been reaching out on some of them and kind of having some back and forth. I need to get better about doing that.
Yeah, telling people when they're wrong and that kind of thing.
Yep. And when they're right, you got to tell them when they're right too.
Oh yeah,
we're working with Curtis. So we're gonna start this off right with our episode 0 introductions. We did have Jason Torrance comment on there. He said it was a great intro to our miniseries, and he wanted to let us know that he actually learned about Mike Young Productions, its whole existence, by watching Legends of Grayskull. He had been out of Masters of the Universe for decades, and he happened to pick up a comic book, started looking into Masters, and came across us on YouTube, and it re-kickstarted his interest. So he's really looking forward to this. So Jason's been with us, feels like from the beginning, and it's awesome to know that we are the reason he knows that Mike Young even exists. So, thank you, Jason.
Very cool.
Let's see here. Next up, we got quite a bit of on the beginning part 1. So we do have Jason Torrance again. He said great discussion. And here we have Lion Mom 7629. Curtis, I know you've gone back and forth with her quite a bit. And right here she's bringing up the Tila conversation, which is kind of
It's evolved as the series has gone on.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Thank you, Lion Mom. It was definitely a great comment, and I know you and Curtis had some back and forth on that one. But I do think at this point in the series, we're definitely seeing some difference, and we've even highlighted that on later episodes. That Tila is definitely evolving. And Curtis, if you want to speak a little bit, I feel like she's evolving more than you remembered her evolving.
Yes, I think I think the first time that I watched this series, it left a really bad taste in my mouth. And then starting up the series this time, it really started off kind of the same way that it left me. But as it's gone on, that has gotten less and less. So yeah, I don't know if it's just that character is kind of maturing a little bit. I mean, obviously these are young kids that we're talking about and stuff, but she's not bothering me near as much as she did in the first few episodes.
Very nice. On the beginning, we had, or part 2, we also had Jason again. He said that he is currently binge watching to get caught back up. So he must have started a little bit later than, there were probably a few episodes out when he started jumping on. Then we jumped to Courage of Adam. We got Jason Torrance again. Jason seems to have known about this contest even before I announced it. So,
oh, yeah?
Because he's up to 5 entries in 5 episodes. So, and he says, great show. We got Nigel Barlow for the first time. He says he's loving the reviews. Filmation is great nostalgia, but MYP is what it should have been from the start. Four Horsemen character designs are amazing. He's got all of the DVDs of this series, and he's going to be rewatching them, followed by our reviews. His favorite redesign was Trapjaw. He agrees with Curtis that Clawful is cringeworthy. And he thinks Curtis needs to revisit the figures because those designs were amazing.
I don't think the designs were bad. I think the designs are good. I think the articulation and what they did with them is bad. Like I've had talks with CB Cornboy from Four Horsemen Studios about some of the designs they did. And they had specific ideas on how certain figures were supposed to be, but because Mattel wanted specific action features or articulation, it made them kind of break up the sculpt at times. So yeah, I think the sculpts themselves are great, and I think you see that with the stactions. Like the stactions are absolutely beautiful. It's just the figures themselves are just they're not as fun to play with or pose. So
and he does let us know that the villain on guard with Whiplash was Merman. We were trying to remember during that episode. We remembered Whiplash had the line about Panther, but we couldn't remember who was with him. He says to keep up the good work, and Courage of Adam gets a 1 power sword from him. Shawn, while we're kind of on the topic of redesigns, what was your favorite redesign out of these first 13 episodes?
I'd say overall it would be Trapjaw. But if I did good and bad, I'd say Trapjaw for the villains and Man-at-Arms for the heroes, because they, like the original Man-at-Arms, to me, he always just kind of was there. This one looked like he was a one-man army on a battlefield, and it made you actually respect that vibe about him finally.
Nice. Let's see here. We got Skywar. We've got Lion Mom again. she always has a big. So this is another one that you went back and forth with her, Curtis. And you're talking a lot about the secret identity trope, which we kind of covered quite a bit on here.
Which I think has gotten better as this season has gone on, because early on some of my concerns were that Man-at-Arms wasn't helping Adam to kind of protect his reputation as he's running off and becoming He-Man. And even Adam wasn't helping himself when he was He-Man to excuse Adam's absence. But as it's gone on, Man-at-Arms still is as cold as ever. But at least you see He-Man start to do things like saying, "Oh, that Adam's a good kid," or "Oh, he let me use his sky sled to get up here," and things like that. So he is at least using his positive reputation as He-Man to kind of negate some of the negative effects of Adam.
And like I've said, it's for me, it's those early episodes really tried to justify a secret identity, but at the same time didn't come up with a good enough reason for it. They just kept trying to hammer in the protect your loved ones. And it's like,
right.
Once they stopped trying to justify it or weakly justify it and just rolled with it, then it gets better for me. It's like, and I love the drama that the secret identity creates. That how is he going to get away? How is he, but yeah, it's when they try to weakly justify it and like keep slamming your face, and Orko constantly like, you'll never guess. I know. Like, yeah, it does kind of wear on you.
Yeah.
On Siren Song, we had Jason Torrance again, but we got Nigel Barlow. He corrects us here. So he does say great episode. He wants to point out though that the microchips that Man-at-Arms picks up, those are the implants to stop the effect of the Siren Song, not the immobilizer.
Yeah, we got that wrong.
Yeah, we messed it up. And apparently it shows Adam's chip falling out, or He-Man at that point, when he gets blasted by Skeletor's staff, which is why it was working on He-Man until Rayman shows up.
Cringer licks it off of Adam's ear. I watched that today.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
To wake up Adam, Cringer's licking his face, and you see it fall off the side of his head. Then
okay, and then he transforms.
Man is under the spell of Cersei or whatever. Then,
and he says that your major gripe is why doesn't Lynn try the mind control again? It's because the heroes now had the implants to block it. Enjoyed it though. Keep them coming. Okay, absolutely. We definitely got that wrong. I'm still calling my bull poop card on why doesn't Lynn try that again? Because, okay, number one, this means that every time a new master shows up, Man-at-Arms is microchipping them.
Yeah. And it's not something that was implanted in their skin. They had to kind of like carry it around on them. So from now to the end of time, they're all carrying this chip just in case she tries to mind control,
Right. Well, so we saw, and now again, we've been corrected again, because I even said it would have been He-Man at that point, but so Cringer's able to lick it out from behind Adam's ear, but like, so Evil Lynn just never tries again, instead of like, hey, Beastman, go pull that out from behind his ear so I can go mind control him, or any of the other people on Eternia, or the Quadians, or the Spalians, or the Caligars, or Shawn, how do you feel about the mind control part? Because I know that was pretty divisive. And honestly, Nigel, thanks for the great comment. But by that point of Siren Song, I am always checked out by the end there, because I'm just like, I can't deal with this anymore.
I found that to be one of the more effective ideas that Lynn had in the first part of the season. Like I was actually saying the same thing to myself rewatching it today. Like, why didn't they go back to this ever again? Because I mean, there's no guarantee, like you guys, these chips are just, there's something they have on their body. Who's to say they have them on every single day? And if she wanted to, she could even one by one do it rather than do it on a mass audience, and do it where maybe, she gets one of them to do it and take take the chip away from each one. And they slowly, it's like they whittle it down to make it even more freaky. It's like everybody's under control. It's like a zombie movie where they're all attacking a friend that should be, they shouldn't recognize a friend. And instead it's like they're under the mind control and they're screwed. But I think that would have been an interesting story personally.
Our criticism was twofold though. It was not only why didn't they do it in the future, but why has it never happened previously?
Right. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's a great plan. It's the plan that Evelyn should keep doing until she's mind controlled everybody on Eternia.
Yeah.
And they win.
There's certain things that Evelyn does throughout this series where it's like, okay, so she can throw meteors at them whenever she wants. She can take bricks from a wall and just shoot them at people. She can mind control people, but each of these things only happens in certain situations. Yes. Like it's never just like, oh, well, I'm going to throw meteors at them each time and I'm going to throw bricks at them and I'm going to try to mind control. Like it's never the full arsenal. It's always like one thing. So,
So that's what broke our minds. The plan itself is super solid. It's the best plan ever because it's an insta win. Like
it's like she just woke up one morning and was like, oh yeah, I can mind control these folks. Don't know why we haven't tried that before.
I mean, I guess the way that I'd look at it, if I was coming at it from a different perspective, is she's going along with Skeletor through most of the show on his ideas and plans. This is one where she's just like, I'm going to try this, and she does her own version of that. And it's like, a lot of the villains, if it doesn't work the first time, Skeletor automatically just like it's never happening again. So I think they've been beaten down so much by the negativity of Skeletor that they just are like, it didn't work the first time, I'm good, and they just leave it at that because it didn't work once, it won't work again. That's just the way their minds are set because of his leadership.
I just think it would be good whenever they do something like that, where one of them's got a unique power or something that we haven't seen before. If there was a way to explain it, why you're able to do it right now for this specific time, and then you're not like, we found some sort of crystal, we harness some sort of energy, we did something that allows us to do it just for this episode, but you never saw it before and you're never going to see it again, and then we'd be like, okay, well, we understand why you were able to do it for this episode. But when you don't do that and you're just like, oh, this is just a natural ability that this person has, well, then where's it been?
I can't argue with you on that level, because that's why Skeletor's schemes, it's usually a once and done, because he needs a MacGuffin to handle them 90% of the time. And if He-Man destroys it, or if he, if it gets lost or whatever, the chances of him doing it a second time are not there. So if they would have had a MacGuffin that she finds, I completely agree with that. That makes way more sense, because I agreed when she reverses the meteors in the first the three-parter, there is that feeling. I never thought of that until today, but I'm like, why doesn't she do that ever again on the show?
Well, and that's why those little artifacts and stuff come in so handy. And so when you do come across let's say, I don't know, just throwing out there, diamond ray of disappearance, you don't just immediately throw it down a cliff and not ever use it, So
just bring up a whole can of worms. All right, on to Ties That Bind. We got Lion Mom back again. Looks like she was catching up over the past day or so, because we got a lot of recent ones from her. And then we do have Jason Torrance again. Thank you, Jason. Okay, she brings up an interesting point here. So this one was definitely divisive between me and Curtis.
I'm guessing she took your side, because she doesn't take my side on anything.
I don't know that she really takes a side.
All right.
She said, basically she's saying, so it's not just the issue that she's Teela's mother. Like, that's not the whole issue. It's the power, the magic that she is keeping Teela from knowing that she has a potential for. And she said, it's startling how this whole story that seems so innocent in Filmation becomes much darker and angstier with slightly more mature and edgier storytelling. She gets why Filmation changed Tila from being a clone to the daughter. And it ended up setting up a multi-layered story pretty much by accident. And it's got a ton of potential layers that can be picked up and written in a more mature, in-depth way. That's her issue with this, though. They grow the story up quite a bit from Filmation, but they can't go all out and get as in-depth with these more emotionally charged topics. So it leaves you to wonder what the heck the characters are really thinking and how they all aren't just having a full-fledged meltdown on a regular basis. And she was disappointing by the ending of this episode. She feels it basically resets. So it kind of sounds like she's between us.
She also says, though, that the way that the story goes, like that it basically, if you hadn't watched Filmation,
that's what I was about to. Yeah, I was about to say the most significant part of her response, though, is this last paragraph, and I hadn't really thought about this. She says, and again, it's not going to be a significant episode unless you remember Filmation. They rely too much on old fans, and they needed more time to develop these characters all over again for a new audience for this episode to be really effective at showing the emotional stakes of all these secrets and powers and relationships. And that's something I had not thought about that, honestly, until reading this just now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique way to think about it because, I mean, both of us were Filmation fans. Like, we've been Masters fans our whole lives. So, you know, we didn't watch this before Filmation or without the knowledge of Filmation. So, yeah, I wonder how you would think about it if you saw this without that, and what you would think about these characters. I mean, even if we're not trying to compare them versus Filmation, it's just natural that we're comparing them against Filmation. You know, and sometimes that's, you know, we go, oh, well, they did it better here. And sometimes it's, oh, well, they did it worse here. But it's always that little bit of comparison.
My knee jerk, and again, I have not rewatched Ties That Bind. I'm reading these comments as we go because Shawn knows I don't like to be like overly prepared for these type of things. I like to I want it to hit me here. My knee jerk is to say that it still works as an episode. And I think you have enough context and explanation there that it's going to hit the way it should. But I agree, Curtis. I don't think I'm qualified to really even make the statement I just made because I don't think I can take my Filmation-ness out of it and just watch it on its own.
Well, the thing watching it this morning, the thing for me was you have a literal issue of two of the coldest characters for the heroes arguing something emotional with each other. And that to me is one of the most hypocritical moments of the whole series because Man-at-Arms is not exactly like on the original, he always had that, you know, that dad vibe.
He's not Mr. Caring. Yeah.
He would care. He would care. He would actually set up things that if Tila was near and Adam had to transform into He-Man, he'd give like a reason why Adam ran off at least, and he's covering for Adam, and he had that, you know, he's raising Tila as a single father and all that, and you got that vibe like he loves this kid, you know. Yeah. When you're watching MYP, he's one of the most cold characters, like Curtis said. He's literally one of the most unemotional characters. Like when I was in Mechanex's Lament with you guys, I love how it's like, oh, I made this new drone for reconnaissance. By the way, I fixed Mechanex's neck. He's about to go commit suicide, by the way. You know, like, because I just made him feel like garbage because I created something that does his own job for him, you know? And him arguing this with her was one of those moments of the show where I'm like, I think it would have been an interesting way to do it if you wouldn't have had maybe Man-at-Arms be that character, have Adam be that character this time, and have him be the one looking at it from, I have two parents and they raised me and I was loved and this and that, and he finds this out, and it could be a sort of contention moment between him and the sorceress compared to have Man-at-Arms be the one calling her on it, because he's not exactly the greatest when it comes to emotions and when it comes to the way that he was in Filmation. And Adam is that character. Like Adam in this for me is way more, he's more what I want to see.
Yeah.
And Man-at-Arms is opposite of what I want to see, which is funny. And you put that character up against the unemotional sorceress, I think that's going to be more powerful from a story perspective. And it also shapes things up from what we know then, too.
Yeah. And it's funny because that's definitely been, I don't think you've watched all of our LOGs on MYP, but that's definitely been a run-in theme of us tracking Man-at-Arms throughout the series. And like, he's more the tactician. He's more the military, the basics, he's not putting emotion into it. So you bring up a great point there.
I think another good side effect of kind of what you're talking about there, Shawn, is that, if they had Adam figure this out or learn of this, I think it would have contributed to a better discussion between him and the sorceress, because he hasn't been keeping this secret from her as well. Like, you can say what you will about Man-at-Arms not thinking it's his place to tell Tila, but he's keeping the secret from her just as much as the sorceress is.
Yes.
So it's kind of, hypocritical for him to, be coming at her the way he does. Now, he says like it's not his place or whatever, but he's still doing it. This person that's supposed to, he's raising her as his daughter, but he's still keeping this. Whereas Adam wouldn't know that. So he would have a much better leg to stand on as far as having that discussion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I again, I said it during the episode, but I'll reiterate, like, I love that they left He-Man Adam out of the secret in this, unlike Filmation, where he can, because in this series, Adam probably would tell her. He would have to be the one. He would not keep it from her. So, jumping over to Mechanics Lament, we do have Scott Baker chimed in. He says really enjoying the series. He caught up watching and listening a couple weeks back, and now he's watching week to week along with us. And awesome having you on, Shawn. Grayskull Cannon says we are awesome. And we've got Nigel Barlow. He said, great episode. Nice to see Shawn getting involved. And for him, Mechanics Lament is a Marmite episode. Marzo is cool, but it pokes fun at Mechanic, who was never an underpowered character for him. As you say, they could have done this better, and the whole teeth thing makes him cringe. He is going a Cosmic Enforcer on Mechanics Lament. And as an aside, he always paired Mechanic against Triclops when he would pit his figures against each other. So
I
like that.
I mean, Triclops does have the Doom Seekers, so they're both kind of reconnaissance guys, and I could see that.
Yeah, it could be fun. And I think in a few episodes now we've seen like Triclops doing the blast and Mechanic like doing the curvy neck thing extended to avoid them. Like it's fun.
And then bite important things.
Yes,
that's very much a I'm useful moment. In his mind, I'm useful. He's doing all that, but really at the end of the day, it's like, did you really need to do that, Mechanic? Really? Show off,
And we've got Lion Mom here again. She says, "Oh, with the Tila is so mean stuff." Tila being captain at 16 is something they plucked whole cloth from Filmation, and it doesn't work well in this series at all, which I think we've kind of hit on. Maybe not in the episodes that have been released yet. Maybe.
No, I think it was
okay.
Probably right before this. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I can't remember exactly
because
where.
It just seems with all the masters and everybody they have to take a 16-year-old and put him in charge of, an army or whatever is.
Yeah, so we completely agree with you. And she says it would have been far more interesting if she had started as cadet and like Adam, taken some episodes like how Adam had to learn how to be He-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Completely agree. Absolutely. You nailed it. She does a lot of wishing for a third season. Absolutely. And she thinks it would have pushed it into a more mature serialized show. And it could have been their breakthrough animated show well before Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I agree. I think that's where this was going as they found their footing. Curtis and I have commented on it. You can definitely feel them find their version of Masters and really run with it, especially in second season.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the Tila is mean, Man-at-Arms is emotionless, and the Sorceress is cold. Even our Adam is a jerk at first. She does not think that Dean Stefan, Michael Halperin, or any of them were doing that characterization on purpose. She thinks they were focused on plot, streamlining the lore, and thought they could just cut all of the main characters straight out of Filmation without building them up from scratch. I disagree, honestly. I think it's too... I see what you're saying, but I think it's too prevalent, and like Man-at-Arms and Sorceress are nothing like Filmation in this series, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. They're, like we said, like Man-at-Arms is still the mentor role. Sorceress is still the Guardian of Grayskull, but the way they go about it is so different. Like Shawn even said earlier, Man-at-Arms isn't that fatherly, cool uncle figure. Sorceress is not that mother to all. Like, no, I think it was definitely intentional that like they went in these different directions with these characters, especially the mentor characters. And I applaud him for it. Like I've said, I've turned it into kind of the running gag that, oh, here's Man-at-Arms being a jerk again. But this is my favorite version of Man-at-Arms.
Kicking in cafeteria doors.
Like, how dare you, fat shaming Ram Man? How dare you eat before mid-moon? What kind of psycho are you? But like, it's not. But yeah, I just think it's too prevalent. Like, and I did not realize it until this watch through how prevalent like that kind of stuff is. So I really think it is them charting these characters, giving them flaws, and building the story out from it. And I think that's a great thing.
I don't think it's a choice by the voice actors. I think it's a choice by the writers. I think the writers have intentionally
Dean Stefan
made
and everybody else.
Yes. But I'm saying like I don't think it's just the way that the voice actors are doing it, because it's not. I don't think it's something that's just happening naturally. I think it's something that's written in there specifically, the way that they wanted these characters to be. Like even Man-at-Arms' relationship with Orko, like in Filmation, Orko would do some crazy things that would irritate Man-at-Arms, but then he would kind of laugh it off. And this Man-at-Arms, I really think, could murder Orko. Like sometimes Orko does something, and you're like, yeah, he's going to kill him. He's going to literally kill this Orko.
On the other side of that coin, this Orko for me is almost less redeemable than Filmation at points, though, because there's definitely moments he does stuff and you're like, dude, I'm amazed they let you even be in the castle anymore. Like, seriously, dude.
Definitely that early Orko, like beginning Orko, I cannot stand. Like
he's not in the series that. I mean, early on, the first like few episodes and stuff, but like, I mean, the last ones that we've been doing, there's very little Orko. No. He'll pop in here and there, but not much.
I feel like he's in more moral segments than he is actual episodes.
Yeah, like we've had a couple moral segments where he wasn't in the whole episode, and then he shows up in the moral. Yeah,
I'm useful again. There you go.
Which I kind of like that. Like he's almost like the Loki character in this series, where he's just like, did you find me today? I didn't see me in the episode, but here I am.
Did you find me today? Show me where I am. I don't know where I was.
I love that. I love trying to spot him in the episode. I ate that up as a kid.
I was in the background while Battle Cat was getting a black eye.
Battle Cat's knocked out. I'm nowhere to be found.
But I like that Orko in the series. Once we get past the beginning, when he does show up, he shows up. You know, lessons. He holds the drawbridge while Adam's taking 5. Like, you know, he Courage of Adam. He's going into Snake Mountain to rescue him. Like when he's better than that way, where once they start utilizing him as an actual character and not just forcing him in the episode to be the kid there. Like this Orko has more potential by utilizing him less.
Yeah.
I still think when we did the what was it, the Golden Book, where Orko played Adam, so He-Man and Adam could be in the same place at once. I don't remember which one it was now, but I know we did that one, and that for me was like, why isn't this how he's used every time they use Orko?
Was it the Golden Book or was it the newspaper comic strip? I know he does it in the newspaper. I don't remember which it is.
I know it was one of the stories because it was never animated. But if they were going to use Orko in any way, shape, or form for anything, it should be he's a double for Adam so that He-Man can go and save the day and Adam's accounted for. Nobody's going to worry about Orko. Yeah. He's one of those characters that he could be God knows where, and nobody's going to be like, where's Orko? They're going to say, where's Adam? Yeah. He should be doing that every episode if they needed him to. And that's ever since then, I'm like, I just can't take Orko other than in Revelation or Revolution because Orko I like that version of him. Yeah. But at least it gives him a credible job to do other than be a goof off and not screw up all the time, you know?
Yep. And finishing up with Lion Mom here, she just says that she is so happy that we're highlighting the show. For all its flaws, it deserves way more love than it gets. And if Mattel had just let go of the reins for this show, and especially for the Image Comics run, wow, it really could have taken off.
Yes.
Oh, what could have been. Still, they got some good things done on the show that get incorporated into each new reboot, like King Grayskull, Marzo redesign, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So that's a couple comments now where we've heard, like, you know, people say they wish that this would have gone longer and we would have got more of this, which I think is kind of a universal thought process on this.
100%.
And I know we've got more of this to go, but just early on, right up, like top of your head, what do you think is the main reason this series stopped? Like, what to you is the number one? You're like, this is the number one reason.
The toy sales.
That's what you think is the number one reason.
It absolutely was. Mattel's gone on record saying the toys did not sell where they wanted them to, so they canceled the series.
Why did this not connect with people at the time?
I still think that it connected with people. I think I think the toys were the issue. Mattel had a flawed action figure sales strategy. They relied too much on the variants and repaints, and their distribution was horrible. So even if a kid loved the series, like, I had to hunt my ass off as a 16 to 18-year-old kid, driving myself around and hunting for these things, making trades with people on He-Man.org, resorting to eBay for a couple figures. No parent at that time was going to do that for their 10-year-old kid. So, like, I think that's it. Like, their toy strategy was just ineffective. They didn't even advertise it. We got 2 commercials for it. We got one for the first wave of figures. We got one for the samurai figures, and that was it. They just thought they could put He-Man on the shelf and people would buy up whatever they wanted or whatever they put out, and they just relied too much on variants, and ultimately that killed the toy line, and that took everything else with it.
The other thing too is the show was always, it was like a hot potato on the schedule for Cartoon Network, where if you showed up for 1 week on a Saturday night at a certain time, the next week there was no guarantee you were going to see it at the same time or whatever. And a lot of people were frustrated by that and kind of either gave up or they were having a hell of a time trying to keep up with it. So even just to have that be something that you're dealing with to try to keep the show on, the show on the air.
And same thing, right? Actual kids aren't going to hunt down TV listings.
No.
Whatever's on, they're going to watch.
And it's also on later at night. It's not on like Saturday morning cartoons like when we were kids or like in the afternoon. So it's specifically geared towards somebody like us who was of the age of, we grew up with it. Here's a reboot. And now we get to see a new version of it, which for me, my biggest issue when I saw it was when I hear reboot, I thought they were going to have like more of like an updated Filmation, I guess is the best way I can describe it. So when I saw the intro, when I saw the transformation, I was like, the hell? Like, like we had that. To this day, Filmation has it hands down for me with the transformation. Every time Adam gets into that pose and you hear the theme kick in, that's like, yeah, it's like this LFG, man, let's do this. And that moment still is so essential to me loving what Masters is about. And when you see what they did here, it's so underwhelming at times that, you know, for somebody who might have gone, oh, there's a new He-Man show, I'm going to watch it. And they watch it and they're like, lame or whatever, you know, like they're thinking, well, it's like fireworks, like Filmation. Instead, it's just the way it is, which to me is like one of the lesser transformation sequences and stuff. So there could be that disconnect for fans of like, so that's not what I remember it being, and this isn't as good as I wanted it to be. But then when you sit and give it the time to do it, like you guys are doing, and like I did in the mid 2000s after the show had ended, and I'm watching it on YouTube going, holy crap, this is amazing. It's diving deep into some of these concepts, you know, but you got to give it that time.
For me, like I never knew about this series. Like I understand, dude, you're like in your mid to late teens. I'm in my mid 20s by the time this is going on, and I never heard about it. I didn't know anything about it. Now I was a huge He-Man fan growing up, and if I had known about this series, I would have watched it. But I literally never saw advertising for the toys or the show. And the fact that they were, bouncing it around to all these, different time slots and stuff, that doesn't help either. And then for you to make a show that you're going to air at night and kind of have more, I wouldn't say it's an adult cartoon, but it's got some more adult themes, but then you're still building the success off of toy sales for kids. There's a disconnect there. And I think part of that is they were ahead of their time. Like, nowadays things are directed towards toys for adults, but I don't know that was the right time for it. I mean, when I'm in my mid 20s, I wasn't going toy shop. I didn't have the disposable income. I mean, I'm trying to, get pay my bills and take care of my family and get,
you had
under me. And
you had 3 15-year-olds at that point. So.
I mean, it's different once we get into our mid to late 30s. We get in our 40s. Like now, all of a sudden, we've got this disposable income. We want to grab this stuff for our nostalgia for the past. Like we're trying to recapture our youth a little bit. That wasn't really the time for that. So I think in some ways it was ahead of its time. I think the advertising and marketing for it were terrible.
Yes.
And then the last thing is, and we'll get this as we get later on, but I think the Snake Men, I think that whole thing fucking killed it. I'm sorry, didn't mean to throw an F-bomb, but I think there's just too much Snake Men. Like you start off very strong with Skeletor being this force of nature, that it's not just fisticuffs with He-Man. Like he is a strategic guy, and he's got these plans and stuff. And then you go into the Snake Men portion, and like you forget about Skeletor. Like he's not even a factor. And you never get the Horde, which would have been great if we would have got that in a season 3. But I just think there's a lot of missed opportunities here.
Well, and I think I think we kind of all hit the nail on the head. Is that at the time, Mattel determined its success by how it registered with 8 to 12-year-olds. And so all of us, late teens, early adults, because I mean, Shawn, you're saying you were mid 20s as well, right? Early 20s at that point.
I was literally right out of art school, so I was 19, 20 years old when
did the first episode air? Like what year?
2002.
2002.
So,
I'm 25 years old.
I was what, 22 or 23-ish, I want to say.
But like Mattel refused at that time to acknowledge that we were actually liking this, and that some of us were buying action figures, and that we were chasing the show around, and they were just looking at it's not resonating with the kids who, like you said, have to put in a ton of legwork. Curtis isn't even hearing about this stuff. An 8-year-old is not going to scour the internet trying to find. If it's on, they're going to watch it. The more episodes they watch, the more they're going to get into it. They go to a store and they can actually find these characters. They're going to get into it. Like
if they would have put this on to where it aired at 4:00 every day, or if it aired at 8:00 in the morning on Saturdays every week, then maybe this would have worked. But they and over time they've done this stuff where they don't want to come up with a new idea. They want to keep rehashing the same old ideas, and that's fine. But if you're going to rehash the ideas, understand that the people that are going to like it are the people that liked it the first time around.
Yep.
You know, so that's who you got to focus on.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's that interesting thing here that you know, hearing Lion Mom say like she feels it relies too much on Filmation.
It absolutely does.
But then Mattel like wanting the toys to resonate with kids that have never seen Filmation. Then at the same time, they started packing in VHS tapes with the toys, some of which had Filmation episodes on it, and some of which had Mike Young episodes on it. It's like
I didn't understand that when I saw those in the Toys R Us. I'm like, why would you put Diamond Ray of Disappearance in with these? That's literally no offense to Filmation people, that's a down step because that's not what this is.
But it was awesome for
what you're putting out there right now, don't you?
It was awesome for the collectors because they weren't releasing any episodes officially. We couldn't get VHSs or DVDs at that time of Filmation. So that was awesome for us. So it's like that weird thing where it's like, what are you? But then you want to say that the 18-year-old demographic doesn't matter. It's a 12-year-old demographic, but you're putting tapes on there that the 18-year-old demographics didn't care about.
Here's the main thing to me, and this is always the thing with Masters more than any other toy line that I can think of, is there is such a gap between when we had the toys as kids and obviously the live action movie and all that being heralding the end of the line for us, and from 1987 and 88 on, it's like, New Adventures, and he tried to Star Wars it and all that stuff, which I can't even remotely get into that show. And then to all of a sudden have, like 10 years later, a whole decade and basically a generation later doing this. And it's like, like Curtis said, it's ahead of its time because this stuff now is, we expect there to be a reboot almost every 2 to 3, 5 years tops, And instead back then it was like, we're going to try this and see what happens. And like, you're getting the flavor of the fandom right here with the three of us going, well, I remember it for this. I don't remember it at all, and how it all worked out. If they would have had something kind of like Netflix where it was stored, here is where you go to get this. That would have maybe helped a little bit too, instead of the schedule hopping and all that stuff, which I think that did help Revelation and Revolution for that fact, at least. But
and that's when they admitted that we're the target audience. For
exactly.
Well, I mean, we just this year hit the point where, adult toy collectors are leading the market as far as buying toys. So, I understand kind of where they struggled with, like, who's buying this stuff and who should we. It was confusing because, at 20, like I said, 20 something years old, like I didn't have disposable income. It was scratching to get by. Like it's, so it's like, it was like Shawn's talking about this gap. The gap was too short for the new people to care about it, but it wasn't long enough for the older people to have enough time to get that, get far enough ahead in life that they could just blow money on toys for no reason.
Well, meanwhile, I'm still at home. I'm still in high school, but I do have a job that I'm working a good 30 hours at. Gas was $20 a week to fill up my tank.
When you're living at home with your parents and you've got no bills to pay, but you've got a job, heck yeah, you can buy some toys.
That's what I'm saying. So for me, it was easy. And then on the flip side, then when classics came out, that's when I was like, oh, now I've got a kid, I've got all this, and I'm like, I can't get into this like I want to. But
see, by the time classics came around, I was old enough where I was like, okay, let's spend some money.
Let's
do this.
So
I had to wait for almost 10 years to even have a classics on my shelf. But it happened eventually.
It just, like you said, those windows. And but I gotta say, like, for the kids, I'm sure there are kids that connected. Well, we know there are, Shawn. We've had them pop up on our comment section below and say that MYP was their introduction to He-Man when they were 8, 9, 10. But for them to go to a toy store and just see Smash Blade He-Man and Splin Blade Skeletor, and they can never find a Manny Faces or a Cyclone or an Orko, like
He-Man.
That was another reason the line failed too. I mean, so many variants of characters, and you're just like, can I just get Buzz off? For the love of God,
So, and I know I've side railed this a little bit, but just one more quick question: do you think that this right now, today, 2024, this is the golden age of toys for adult collecting?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm gonna say 2025 because Mondo's bringing out the 2000X line that year.
There you go. There you go.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm beside myself excited still about that. I cannot wait to see the actual figures and like prototype type test shots and stuff. So
I think the same way that they were talking about like the baby boomers when it came to like housing purchases and car purchases.
Yeah.
I think we're that demographic we're hitting that point in toy collecting where companies are like, man, they're just like, if there's some nostalgia attached to this, we can put this stuff out and people are going to buy it.
Look at NECA with the turtle lines and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, heck, all the different companies with turtle lines. There's like 8 different turtle lines right now.
And I mean, heck, even GI Joe was so scarce, and now look at GI. You got Classified, Mezco's making them now and stuff too. Yeah. It's like everything has something out there nowadays, and that's from our nostalgia, from our childhood. So
yeah, absolutely. So thank you everybody who commented. That was some great discussion. And everybody whose name I listed off, you are now entered to win your own copy of Yuka's unofficial guide to He-Man the Master Universe.
I had made some comments on some of those videos as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you down here. Real quick, I do want to go through a little bit of trivia and curious translations from some of the earlier episodes that we didn't get to. So, in Germany, for the beginning, part 1 through 3, it is "Wie alles begann I," which is how it all started.
So, I like it.
In Italy, the beginning part 1 is translated as "L'Alenzo," which is the beginning.
Okay.
The beginning part 2 in Italy is La Spada di Eternia, which is the Sword of Eternia.
Okay.
And the beginning part 3 in Italy was Scantro Frontale, which is direct attack. So Italy actually came up with 3 separate titles for the first 3 episodes rather than just a part 1, part 2, and part 3.
I like that. I do
actually kind of retroactively. I kind of like for Cartoon Network Cartoon Theater movie premiere. I think they could still go on the beginning, but it would have been kind of cool to have the actual 3 episodes have different.
Have it like chapter 1, 2, 3 of that thing. Yeah,
I like the name for 1 and 2. I don't know about the direct attack for 3. That's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think could have come up with a better one, but
first confrontation.
Something
more.
Not the Snake Men. How about that? That would have made me show.
Or like He-Man appears, or something like that. Like, because that's the first one that we really see him, show.
He has the power.
True.
There you go. Yeah.
And so interestingly enough, in the original script for the beginning, the 3-parter, we would have, in addition to all the characters we saw, we also would have been introduced to Roboto, Cyclone, Buzz-Off, and Too Bad.
Wow.
So, originally, all of those characters would have just been there from the beginning.
I'm kind of glad they weren't, actually.
Yeah. So especially Too Bad, and I think Cyclone. Like, even Buzz-Off. Well, Curtis probably isn't happy because Skywar wouldn't have happened if Buzz-Off had been there from the beginning. So
I still like the way they introduce Roboto on the show, which I know you haven't covered yet, but when they do that one's one of my favorites. So yeah, that was worth it for that to be the beginning of him.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet, Shawn.
I know.
And we're not doing spoilers.
I'm not doing spoilers. I'm just saying it's worth it. That's all I'm saying. It's a nice review in the future.
You mean later, Curtis?
Yeah.
2 weeks from now, you talk about Beastman.
No, I'm talking about. I just mentioned Snake Men here. Yeah.
For the deep end from the trivia section, I believe this is who I brought up. Brooks Watchell. I think during the episode, I was like, that name sounds familiar, but I couldn't find anything. He actually wrote She-Ra Princess a Power episode entitled Hordak's Power Play. Okay. So that's why I had that on my mind. Curious translation for lessons. In Germany, it was Duell der Magier, which is Duel of the Mages.
Huh. That's cool.
That would
I
have
like
been
that.
a fun little thing. I did. Where was it? Sorry, guys. I'm getting to my marked pages at the same time.
That's all right. We can't follow along because we don't have our own books.
Yeah,
Apparently, we're not allowed to win this.
Yeah, we're not allowed to enter.
I know I did verify in Mechanex's Lament that basically the entire second act was completely different in the original script. That's something I might just
Couldn't have been worse.
I might get Yuka's permission and just kind of take a snapshot and post it to our Legend Daddies Facebook group because it's a lot in here.
Any kind of tidbits you can throw at us that?
Yeah, let me get to it. I believe if I'm correct, it was that he would have gotten powers.
Oh, nice. That would have been good.
Yeah. So here we go. Old Man Marzo grants Mechanic the wish of all the powers of the Masters.
Ooh.
Mechanic realizes he can levitate and crush a rock against his head. Exhilarated, he runs off to show his friends these new powers. And so that kind of takes it all after that.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, because I think that's basically where we landed on was like if there had actually been some sort of something coming off of that.
Yeah, and he gave up that to go back to who he really should be. Yeah.
Was there something else? Thought there's something. I think that was all my markings. So, all right. Let us. Granted, I mean, there's a ton of information in here. I'm just trying to highlight some of the good stuff and kind of give people a reason to reach out to Yuka and get his book. So now we are going to borrow a little bit from our Off-World podcast, and we are going to go through a lightning round of Power Sword rankings. So as everybody knows, Curtis and I rank every episode. Shawn has not had the opportunity to rank every episode, so we're going to give him that opportunity now. So for those of you who don't recall, our rankings are 3 Power Swords is the best of the best, perfect episode. 2 Power Swords is an above average episode. 1 Power Sword is a good episode. We got the Cosmic Enforcer. That's right down the middle, neither good nor bad. Then we got the Havoc Staffs. 1 is bad. 2 is worse. 3 Havoc Staffs means that episode should be banished into Despondos for all eternity, never to be seen again. So I'm going to tell you the episode title, my ranking, Curtis's ranking, and then Shawn's going to give his ranking. Here we go. The beginning, part 1. I gave it 1 sword. Curtis gave it 1 sword. Shawn.
I'll give it 1 sword.
He gives it 1 sword. A good episode. Beginning part 2. I was a Power Sword. Curtis gave his first Cosmic Enforcer of the series. Shawn.
I'll do 2 Power Swords on that one.
Woo! Shawn setting the bar early on.
Getting good then.
And then the beginning part 3. Curtis and I were both 1 sword. Shawn.
I'll give that one 1 sword.
And he's back down again.
Yeah.
1 sword.
Back down. Flying fish. Flying fish. Can't take it.
Then the first non-sequel episode, we got The Courage of Adam. I was at a Cosmic Enforcer, my first of the series, and Curtis gave a Power Sword.
I went 1 Havoc Staff on that one.
Woo! Shawn giving out his Havoc Staff early.
Yeah.
Punching him out.
I hate that. Why did I do that? But yeah, I couldn't help it. I have never been a fan of that episode.
Okay, so then we've got Sky War. I gave it 1 Power Sword, and Curtis went 2 Havoc Staffs.
Ooh.
His first time going into the Havoc Staff territory.
Okay, I gave it 1 Power Sword.
And Shawn is up with 1 Power Sword. Then we got Deep End, which features the long-awaited return of the Flying Fish. I gave it a power
not
sword.
that long awaited.
Yeah, no,
It hasn't been
that's
that
part
long.
of my problem.
Yeah, 2 episodes ago.
I gave it a power sword. Curtis miraculously still gave it a power sword. Shawn.
I gave it a Cosmic Enforcer. Amazing.
Cosmic.
I was really close to 1 Havoc Staff, though.
Then we got Lessons. Orko versus Duel of the Mages there. I gave it 2 swords. Curtis gave out his first 3 sword ranking.
Ooh.
Shawn.
I will go 2 Power Swords on that one.
2 power swords for Shawn. Next up, we got 1 Siren Song, which despite our not paying attention to the episode as closely as Nigel did, and our dislikes, we still each gave it a power sword. So we still came away from it positive. Shawn.
Oh, I gave that one a Havoc Staff. 1 Havoc
One
Staff.
Havoc Staff. I completely get it. Episode 9, Ties That Bind. I went 3 power swords for the first time in this series, and Curtis gave it the good old Zodak Cosmic Enforcer.
I had one thing written down, but I'm going to actually pal around with Curtis on this one. I'm going to give that one a Cosmic Enforcer since we had our talk about it earlier, because that definitely helped a bit more.
And that is something that actually happens to Curtis and I quite a bit, is as we talk it out, sometimes it can either help or hurt it. So coming up, episode 10, Dragon's Brood. Curtis and I were in complete agreement, 3 power swords.
I gave that one I gave that 1 power sword.
1 sword. Shawn hates animals. Got it.
Actually, the last thing I wrote, if I had to make summations, was "and be kind to animals." So there you go. It actually that sunk in nicely for me.
Episode 11, Turnabout. Curtis and I both gave it a Havoc Staff.
I gave it a power sword.
I seem to remember you liking it more than
I don't know what it is about that one, but I like that it does come around to, it gives a little bit of levity, but it's not Filmation levity with everything going on in the show at that point. And it was funny to see Skeletor constantly screaming his head off every time he got nuked by the thing. But yeah, I mean, I could get into it more, but I'm just trying to
I got you.
But you know what I mean.
Then we got episode 12, Mechanix Lament, which featured the first appearance of Count Marzo and the first appearance of Shawn on L.O.G. on MYP. So Curtis and I both gave it a power sword, and Shawn, at the time, you gave it a Cosmic Enforcer.
I remembered, and I stuck to it. Yes, I'm still a Cosmic Enforcer on that one.
Okay. Then episode 13, which is what premiered last week, I gave it, or it was a Night of the Shadow Beast. I gave it a power sword, and Curtis gave it 3 power swords.
I gave that one a Cosmic Enforcer.
And Shawn's a Cosmic Enforcer again. Okay, so Curtis.
Yeah.
Out of the 13 episodes we've done so far, you have given out 3 power sword rankings.
Okay.
That was Night of the Shadow Beast, Dragon's Brood, and Lessons. So if you had to rank those individually, what is your best of the best out of those 3 then?
I would probably put Dragon's Brood first, then Lessons, and then the Shadow Beast. But they're all great. I love.
Oh yes, they are. I'm getting nitpicky.
Yeah.
Here.
No, you're good.
Shawn, you have not given out 3 power swords yet. So
nope.
Your 2 power swords are Beginning Part 2, Lessons, and that's it.
Yep.
So which of those is your top there?
Probably the Beginning Part 2, but Lessons. I'm not the biggest Orko fan. Lessons actually, Larry DiTilio saved that one for me because he really brought that whole moment with Orko on the right there fighting, or not fighting, but standing his ground against Skeletor is a hell of an iconic moment for me in the series. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And the Ramstone. Oh, dear God, I love the Ramstone. It literally knocked the power of Grayskull out of Adam. I love that moment so much on so many levels.
Completely agree. I'm more shocked that the beginning part 2 is up in your top 2. That's
I like all the stuff of him finally getting the sword.
Yeah.
But like 1 was still good, and then 3 for me, that damn fish. It's like I almost want to give that one a Cosmic Enforcer, even though that's when He-Man shows up finally. But it just drives me that crazy.
All right, then for me, I have given out 2 of the 3 Power Sword rankings. That is Ties That Bind and Dragon's Brood. And for me, Dragon's Brood is absolutely on top at this point.
How anybody could give Ties That Bind 3 Power Swords is beyond me. But
would you rather give 3 Power Swords to Ties That Bind or the beginning part 2? Just saying.
Beginning part 2.
I should have known that. Technically, you had them both at Cosmic Enforcers, so both of those episodes. So
yeah, they're close. But if I had to pick one or the other, I would rather watch Beginning Part 2 than Ties That Bind.
Well, you're wrong, but that's okay. We still like you. So I know we've thrown this out there a few times on the show there, and we've kind of talked about it. But out of these first 13 episodes, if you're going to pick one episode, someone's like, I've heard about that newfangled Mike Young He-Man series. I got time for one episode. What episode are you showing them to rope them into the series? For me, I'll go first. It's still Dragon's Brood. I just think the action, the characters, the animation on that one's top notch. I think that one, and it's just an easy in, easy out. There's nothing big on the overarching story in that particular episode, to where you can just sit down, you can watch that. It's got a great cast of heroes and villains, and you just kind of get everything about Mike Young in that episode without needing a lot of the other episodes on top of it.
For me, it would either be Dragon's Brood or Lessons. I think I'm going to lean towards Dragon's Brood. But yeah, those 2 would be the top ones. But yeah, I would say through these first 13 that we've reviewed,
yes,
so far,
right,
that's what I would do. Yes,
gotcha. Shawn,
I'd say Lessons is definitely one that I'd be like, this is great, but for action, Dragon's Brood's probably where the best money is for the first 13 episodes for me, at least. So, but Lessons, I feel like that one's a nice bridge between Filmation to this show more than some of the other ones might be. So if that's a Filmation fan, that one I might go try that one first. But if they didn't know anything about this, I'd be like, Dragon's Brood is a good one. You're going to see a lot of action, and you get into the dragon sequences and stuff. That's some really good stuff too.
Yeah, and it highlights, even if they don't like really go into it, it shows a lot more of the Masters and the Evil Warriors.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas
exactly.
Lessons has that smaller cast. I completely agree. When you were saying, I'm like, yeah, that's the key. If they have a He-Man understanding, Lessons. If they're coming in cold, Dragon's Brood.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I like Lessons, it is a very specifically focused episode. So if it's somebody going in for the first time, yeah, I think Dragon's Brood's better.
All right, guys, I'm going to open up the floor to you guys right quick. Anything you want to throw out? Shawn, if there's any moments you really want to highlight from the first 13 that we haven't kind of touched on. I know we kind of just been all over the place, but just kind of giving you guys the floor here for a minute. And
I'll go ahead and kick it off. I think that watching it again and detailing it with notes and all this kind of stuff has helped me to appreciate it in a different way. I don't think Teela's as bad as I remember her being. I think that the way that they built these characters to where they are flawed people, which I do think is intentional. I feel like it makes it more realistic. Like these are people that still have issues. It's not all black and white. to me that makes it a lot better. I love the animation. I think most of the redesigns are really good. So yeah, I'm just really enjoying this watch through, even though I've seen all these. I'm really enjoying going through it again. And this whole episode has been great. I think, Dooch, you and I, when we watch, I think it's Monster Within is the one that I'm really excited about coming up. We should wear the same stuff that we're wearing right now, just to kind of think about this.
If we remember 2 weeks from now. But yeah, I don't. Is that the? I'm not even sure I remember which episode
it's either
that
15 or 16. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll have to look because I haven't watched. I'm not watching ahead, so yeah,
right.
I can't. I think that might be the Manny Faces episode, but I can't remember.
Yeah,
but but I agree with you, Curtis. Like, honestly, getting to really see these characters, I don't feel like I, or at least I didn't consciously acknowledge like the. I guess I gotta stop saying Man at Arms is a jerk, but like the unemotional military leader Man at Arms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure but it wasn't like a conscious recognizing. And like we got into earlier, like seeing these through lines, seeing how really these first 13 episodes are all about training and accepting your destiny and becoming the man you're supposed to be. Like, I never consciously picked up on how many of the episodes start with training sequences. And even now we're starting to see that kind of fade away. And Adam's becoming, at the same time, you see Adam more becoming He-Man and more filling his role, more looking out for himself. We start to see Dragon's Brood, I believe, is the first time. Adam lent me a sky sled. Nice kid. Like, seeing that growth with us really focused in and watching these on a regular schedule has been a really neat thing, and I'm really appreciating it more.
Well, and I think in the just overall guise of Masters of the Universe, I think 2000X did a really good job of adding more to these characters, adding more backstory, adding some origins of certain characters, giving us, military Randor, not just sitting on the throne drinking wine Randor. Adding some more details to these characters, the like tension, as much as I hate Sky Wars, like the tension between, Stratos and Buzz-Off and there's this extra stuff going on that I think has added in the overall lore of Masters, if we hadn't got this series. So
completely agree.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I love that this felt like it really wanted to take it seriously, because one of the things for me when I was a kid was I tuned into Filmation and the villains were always bumbling, drove me up the wall. This one shows Trapjaw, where I would literally be afraid to be in the same room as Trapjaw, because overall the design, but also his personality. And I mean, for the most part, they do that really well. Skeletor is something to be feared in this. He's not joking around. I like and also don't like that Adam gets the sword in this one in that way. Like, we see that happen. In my own head, I think I built up what I'd rather see more, but it's nice that we have that beginning in this compared to just start in medias res, just run into it and all that. And I like how the world building in this, to me, is superb. I mean, I've never used that word to describe anything in my life, but that is what I can say, because to add to Curtis's comment, this Randor is someone who, when he sees there's a danger in his world, he's now proactive in the first 13 episodes to try to do something about it. He's not just sitting on the throne, just hanging out with Marlene all the time. He's literally trying to make, he's trying to bring people together so they have a stand against Skeletor, because they're starting to realize he's becoming a bigger problem. And I love that they keep doing that through this, where every single time Skeletor is mounting an attack, it's making them more and more like, we have to deal with this. This is now like, he's back. We got problems. We got to deal with it.
You know, I hadn't thought about it till you just said that, but there's a lot of, you know, the royalty of Eternia trying to bring different races and people together, which is we didn't see really a whole lot of in Filmation. So yeah, that is kind of a unique take on that too.
We would see some of it here and there. Like, I'm not going to say Filmation never did it because that discredits it, but the way that they're doing it here, where it's building towards something, and I like that even if it's building towards something for the good guys, there could be other things at hand for the back. And I like that there's that like back and forth in this. And this is one of those shows that every time I rewatch it, and I've rewatched it many times now, I always feel like I'm home again watching it. And I don't get that from every single thing. But this one, it's like the world just wraps itself around me while I'm watching it. And after it's done, I'm like, I got to watch the next one now because I love being on Eternia. I'm so excited to hear over things in my own basement. That's how much I like this show. And I am happy that people have given it a chance even 20 years later, 22 years later now. And they're seeing this is really freaking cool. You know, like if you didn't like Filmation, maybe this is your flavor then. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Two things I want to jump back to real quick. I knew there was more I wanted to bring up. So from Yuka's book, sorry. And so from not ties that bind, lessons. This would help Curtis. So in the original script, it states that when the Ramstone's energy hits He-Man, he is instantly blown off screen. The sorceress and Orko witness the events via the Mystic Pool and see He-Man crash on the rocky ground. His sword bounces from his hand, and at that point, he is transformed into Prince Adam.
Okay.
So I know you that bumped you a bit during the episode of
because
how
it looked like he transformed to Adam right in front of Skeletor.
In the episode, he does.
Yeah.
When he's on the drawbridge, he smacks back into Adam. But the writer originally intended it to happen once
after he's away. That's cool. That would have been better. And
then in Dragon's Brood, to bring up a point that we made at the time, Cringer was supposed to be at the Quadian village with Teela and Adam
instead of just getting lost in the jungle.
He would have been curious about the cat people, and then he would have left with them on the back of Prince Adam's sky sled. And when the dragons attack,
that would have been funny to see. Can you see Cringer on the back of the sky sled?
I don't, and that's probably why it was cut, honestly. But then, so when the dragons attack Grayskull, He-Man would have shown up with Battle-Cat. Okay. And in the script, Panther would have been with the Evil Warriors, and we would have gotten Battle-Cat and Panther fighting again on top of Castle Grayskull.
And Battle-Cat would have got beaten again?
Probably. I would have seen the cloud of smoke. I actually like it better without Battle. Like the way that acts out with the sky sleds and on top of Grayskull, I feel like the cats aren't necessary. But so that's why Cringer was in the opening chasing after them. So it just becomes a drop plot point. I like the finish scene better, but that explains that weirdness there.
Yeah, because we were always like, he's running through the jungle with him, and then all of a sudden he's just gone.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Never acknowledge.
Right.
And that is one thing I will always say about 2000X is out of all the changes they made, some are really good and some were not. One of the worst changes they made was Battle-Cat is no longer that great of a companion for He-Man because the guy gets knocked out every freaking time. Yep. As a kid, I saw Battle-Cat and I'm like, there's no way you're going to lose with this guy. 2000X is like, hold my beer. Yeah.
So I know we're still going through this, so we haven't seen this run through but we've all seen this series before.
Yes.
If you were to throw New Adventures out because it's a piece of crap, and you just looked at Filmation, Mike Young Productions, or Revelation together, which one is the best version of Masters in your opinion? On screen?
I know what Matt's gonna say because I know how he is.
I need parameters.
You got to pick a favorite. Somebody says, hey, I've never watched Masters before. I want to take a chance at one of these series. Which one do I watch? What is the one that you tell them?
See, that's different. See, so if you're telling me someone's never,
however you want to say, which one would you put top?
Well,
for me, it is this series. I think I loved Revelation. I loved everything that they did. I think that the animation was great. The story was great. The development of Evelyn and Orko. Obviously I love Filmation. That's what I grew up with, but I think this is the best. I think if I was going to recommend a version of Masters to anybody, it would be this one. And if I was to just go back and watch one and just binge it, it would be this series.
See, for me, I agree with you. If you're saying to recommend to someone who hasn't checked out Masters, or like what I could binge watch through, yes, absolutely, it's MYP. If I have to pick a personal favorite, I've still got to give the edge to Filmation, because at the end of the day, like, that's my default. It's because just built in nostalgia. It's built into my DNA at this point. If I'm reading He-Man, if I'm reading Skeletor, if you tell me, read this golden book and you got theme music playing in your head, it's Filmation. Like, it just is. Like Shawn said earlier, transformation sequence. What's the most iconic one? It's Filmation. Like, you can't, but like, at the same time, I've said it many times, you can't binge watch Filmation. It drives you crazy. Like, it's not meant to be binge watched, Whereas Revolution drives me nuts for the fact that I can't just watch an episode, because it is basically a movie. Yeah. Split up into parts. It's a mini series. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's some different things. So for me, series as a whole, Filmation will always take the top cake, followed closely by Mike Young. But yeah, if you're talking like favorite to binge watch, or what one would I recommend somebody start with? Absolutely MYP every time.
Shawn?
For me, it's definitely 2000X. I mean, my issue with Filmation was always you reset it at the end of every episode. Matt said it many times on Legends of Grayskull. Even it always has to reset, and it's always got to just keep the status quo. And I love how on this series you could pick an episode, still watch that episode for 2000X, and it's a self-contained thing usually, but then it is building towards other things. It's progressing, just like Revolution got to progress what Filmation sort of started on, the spirit of it, at least. But 2000X for me, like when I got into it, it was the first time since I was probably 12, maybe 13 tops, because 13 I think was when I went full on comics, and toys weren't really as big of a deal to me at that point. I was 24 watching 2000X, and it literally had me on eBay buying all the figures. And then when my roommate wasn't home, I literally would play with the figures. And I didn't do that with anything else when I was that age, but the He-Man stuff was like, oh my God, it's so core to who I am, with why this speaks to me that way, And I don't know of any other show or whatever, like Revolution didn't do that. Revelation didn't do it. 2000X it gets me in that. It feels like you're in the sandbox with these writers getting to play with the action figures, but they're freaking great stories. They're not just, and then Skeletor gets Grayskull, yay! It's like, no, there's some depth to this, and it really gets you into it.
I completely agree.
Awesome.
All right, guys. I think that is an episode.
It's an episode.
Definitely a bit longer.
That's my
fault. This will definitely be the longest recap we've ever had. We've got the book now, so all those trivia and deleted scenes and everything from now on, as you've already seen, will be in the episodes they pertain to. Definitely just wanted to catch up on that. Shawn, it was great having you along. Thanks for catching us up with your Power Sword rankings. And if hopefully we can get you on some more individual episodes. If nothing else, I hope you'll consider coming on for these recaps because it's always a lot of fun having you.
What'll be our next one at the end of season 1? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, so we would have end of season 1, and then at that it'd be end of the series. So unless at least 2 more of these, because season 2 is only 13 episodes itself.
Right.
Maybe we could throw a halfway in there. I have to see how it kind of ends up, but yeah, 2 or 3 more maybe.
It would be interesting maybe to, after it's done, for each of us to kind of outline one episode that we would have liked to see, like what characters, what the storyline would be, like what is one based on the MYP characters, based on the art, based on the fighting. That. What is one thing that we would have liked to see and how would have gone?
I like it.
Yeah, I could agree. Absolutely. And we got time to think about that. So
yeah,
perfect. All right, guys, make sure you're commenting. Click those buttons down below. Definitely like, share, and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, keep commenting. Every episode you comment on gets you a chance to win your own copy of this, and you can rub it in Shawn and Curtis's face. So
yeah,
that'd be great.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. And until next time, go watch Underworld. I think Curtis is gonna love it.
Oh,
come on.